Okay, first off, Judy's computer is old. I didn't even know how to unmute her computer, so we're going to have to work on that, Judy. Uh, Good morning, everybody. I'm glad to be here. Obviously, this is a little different way of communicating and talking about the team, but really excited about the upcoming season. Excited about the opportunity to get back together in the gym, get some shots up, a lot of shots up actually, due to the COVID protocol that we've had in place here. I can tell you that we're going to be, one, in shape. Two, we're going to have a higher field goal percentage, but we might not be able to guard anybody. But we definitely will make the pace very up-tempo and very exciting to watch. So I like the fact that we've got a returning nucleus. I know they are starving to play, considering how the season had to end for so many student athletes with not being able to participate in the NCAA tournament. And time is of the essence. They understand there's a sense of urgency, and they have really done a great job of, one, getting in the weight room, being diligent in how we have paced them and how we've moved them to getting their strength, their quickness, their endurance back, while also easing them back into the basketball workouts. So again, excited for the upcoming season and what we have in store.
Okay, we'll do questions if you just want to unmute yourself, and then ask questions if you can.
Yeah. Hey, Nikki, this is Jim Klein, Peter. I was wondering how you're using last year. Are you trying to flush it? Or are you trying to? Is it a motivating tool?
Well, that's an interesting word, flushing. I don't think you can flush, Jim, what the kids went through. I think it's a way for them to understand the reality of the world that we live in, but also how precious it is to have time with your loved ones, to be able to spend that time with them and get to know your teammates a little bit better. So we've been able to utilize the isolation, in a sense, to bring us closer together. Over the summer, we consistently had weekly Zoom calls. We were able to connect our incoming first years also with our young ladies that are overseas. So when we decided to have our team meetings, we had to find a perfect time. And that's very hard to do when you have East Coast, West Coast, but we also have young ladies from France, and we have Sharna from Australia. So 4 o'clock seemed to be the perfect time, so to speak, because it was 7 o'clock in the morning in Australia, and then it was 11 o'clock at night in France. But that was the one time that we could really get everybody together. So we've utilized this time, again, like I said, to just be connected with each other and appreciate the time that we do have together.
Nikki, what have been the precautions that you've had to take while preparing your team to play, but also keeping them safe from COVID?
Well, we just really was transparent about everything. We wanted to educate. We have an unbelievable medical team here under the leadership of Shelley, who really kept us up to date. And as you know, everything is constantly evolving, but the precautions that we took obviously was social distancing, wearing your mask, washing your hands, all of those things. And our team did a really good job of staying the course. They stayed committed to not taking those risks. They made a sacrifice to kind of create their own bubble where they're around their teammates. And some of the things that we did from a basketball standpoint was we stayed small groups. We're still in small groups, even with the weight training. We cut our team in half so we can be completely spaced out while we're weight training in the morning. And then when we did come back and get on the court, we obviously tested temperatures when you came into the building. Only access was the practice facility. We had to enter a certain way and had to be cleared to enter the building. They had assigned seats in the gym along with assigned basketballs. We weren't even sharing basketballs at that time, and they had their own assigned baskets. So we were really fortunate to be able to space and keep them distant while we were able to get up a lot of shots. The other thing that we obviously want to make sure that we're doing is testing and tracing. I think that's equally important to make sure that we're constantly doing that and staying on top of that. And I'm so thankful that we've been very diligent in making sure that our kids are healthy and staying healthy during this difficult time.
Nikki, it's Christy. You talked about all the shots that are going up. Is there any particular player that, hey, you know what, COVID's been a silver lining for this young lady in terms of basketball and her development?
Well, Christy, it's been great to be able to see how, you know, it was tough for some of our kids to even do anything in the summer because of the lack of access to the gym by not being here on our campus. And to be able to be at an institution where they said, yes, let's bring your team back. We'll bring them back in the second phase. That allowed us to give them a place to get up shots, a place to still feel some type of normalcy, even though it's a lot different. And I will tell you, just getting up a lot of shots, I can see where there was a hunger there, where they're like, Coach, can we be in the gym even more? And we had to schedule outside of our schedule because of the cleaning. We obviously are cleaning everything. We're wiping down things throughout the workouts. But I'll tell you, we got some players that can really stroke the ball. I like the fact that we're shooting the three ball at a higher percentage and more attempts than we've had because we have the versatility to do so. We were very intentional on bringing in young ladies that can, you know, everybody can shoot a three, but can you make a three? And I think that's something that you'll see in this year's team. That's a lot different because we'll have multiple players that are going to be comfortable in making threes for us. We added a young lady, Sarah Shamatzi, who's a junior college transfer. And I will tell you that she's somebody that you got to keep your eye on because this kid is going to be a pro. She's showcased how well she can stroke it from deep, but she's a big guard for us, can play multiple positions. I'm excited about her. I'm excited that one of our young ladies who's had to sit out last year, Sharna Ayers, is somebody also, a lefty, kind of remind me, not as quick as John Kinney, but can definitely stroke it. I'm excited about her returning to our team and being eligible to play, along with the nucleus that we have coming back. So this is going to be an exciting time for our team because I'm going to see how many balls that we got enough to share. Do we have enough balls to share? Because I think everybody is hungry for shooting.
Hey, Nikki, obviously, we all remember the times when it was a fight to see if you could find 5 players to put on the court. There's been some times like that. But you have such a deep roster this year, the deepest you've had maybe, and how many players do you hope to play to get involved in a game? Because I know you like to go up tempo if you can, if you have the numbers.
Well, I was just talking about the depth of our team this year, which is exciting. I like the fact that we might be able to do some platoon subbing, that we can bring in waves of players and really keep the tempo at a high rate. I like the fact that we've got experience coming back along with adding some newbies. And the fact that we have players that can play multiple positions, that will allow us to look at different lineups, to look at different schemes. What's my best defensive lineup? What's my best offensive lineup? We're going to be able to mix it up a little bit, which that's going to be great. But you know, if we can get to 10 deep, I think that's an ideal number. That's a number where you can really press a lot. You can run the ball a lot. You can get up and down. You can keep that. Again, you can wear on your opponents by pushing tempo on make, misses, turnovers, steals. That's a pace that's going to be really hard to defend. And the fact that I feel like our team is in really good condition, you know, we do a great job of tracking their load and where we were last year and where we are right now. We're right on target and hitting our numbers from a strength and conditioning standpoint. So if we can get to a good solid 10 players playing some good minutes, in the past we've had that number, but I feel like we've got 10 impactful players that can play those minutes.
Nikki, in talking about pace and we've talked about this before, in looking at how the lack of contact in practice has affected the SEC defense football. How do you think that the lack of contact preparation, the defense will have its effect on basketball?
Well, I believe defense tells a lot about your team, to be honest. To me, defense is about heart, it's about hustle, it's about stamina. Defense is also about togetherness. And when you have that as your core, you know, so when we don't make our defensive rotations, it's more about where's your support for your teammate. You know, don't leave her out on the island by herself. Those type of comments when I'm correcting our team on our defense makes us become more of a family. And I think through COVID and through the Zoom calls and trying to stay connected and all the team building exercises that we did, and then once we got here, our team chemistry, you worry about that a little bit, right? Because you're not seeing each other. But I feel like our team chemistry is really strong in lieu of everything with the social distancing and what they've had to endure. So again, I think that our defense is going to be questionable a little bit in the early part because of schemes, but not because of heart or hustle or stamina, because that's something that is a non-negotiable, and you have to play that way regardless if you've been off 3 months or you've been on for 3 months. Those are things that are staples, and those are things that are coming from within.
Nikki, were you able to go through your normal week or two of the boot camp with the military or the police this summer? And if not, how did you overcome that to get to the level of fitness that you think you're at right now?
Well, we were not able to work with the Louisiana Police Department this year, and that's something that has been just instrumental for not only our physical fitness, but also our mental fitness. I love the mentality of those who serve, and I love the mentality that we had going into that environment where there was a respect there for those who, you know, put their lives on the line for us. And we had police officers who served in the military, and that's pretty special to be able to have that type of training, that type of focus. And the way that we are doing it now with Chris White, our strength coach, is we obviously assess where our student athletes are and we build out a plan. And we didn't come back. Some of our kids did some stuff, whether they were running, whether we sent them back with ropes or our bands workout, just things like that we still provided for them. So by assessing them and then creating a preseason plan, that's allowed us to come back in really decent shape. My kids have been here since June. Some of them been here since the end of June. So we went through June, July, and then we gave them a break. And then now we're back. Again, everything is gradual. We're taking it one day at a time. Chris, myself, and our trainer, Amanda Barbie, we're constantly talking about what was their load today. Was it a heavy day for them? Then we might need to stay a little bit more half court. And those conversations only allow us to put together the best game plan we can to keep our student athletes healthy.
Nikki, because of the shortened preseason that you guys will have compared to previous years, how as a head coach has that changed your prep?
Faustina just seems to continue to develop year after year. She could have gone pro but came back. So can you talk about what she looks like?
Get Christy's question.
Christy, hold on one second, Carol. Christy, I'm going to take your question real quick. Will you repeat that for me, please?
Carolyn.
I'm sorry. I'm hearing both.
No, sorry. What I'm saying is because of the shortened preseason in terms of games this year and very much an unorthodox preparation going into this season, how does that change maybe in terms of how you've organized things in the past as you prepare for November 25th or whenever that first game is, and then SEC play?
Well, during this time, I just think it's really important to be aware of the mental wellness of your student athletes. You have to be locked in to making sure that they are coming into an environment where they enjoy coming to practice. And so what that looks like, it's music playing, it's them plugging up whatever music they want to listen to at the very beginning and allowing them to have that relaxed feeling while when we whistle blows and it's time to start and get right into the meat of practice, that's when it kind of gets a little bit more intense. But I think that overall, you have to be aware that they have been through a lot and it's not easy. And I commend all student athletes who are playing, who decided to come back. I commend them for that. And I commend them too for coming in every day and being focused and really trying to get better and trying to push each other to have a season and play and compete at a high level. Because as you know, the SEC is one of the most physical conferences, one of the most athletic conferences in the country. And they understand that we've had to adjust some things, but we're not having to adjust the mentality. And that's something that we've been really creative with, even though we can't have the contact or we can't, we just now started, getting the whole team together. But even the drill work that you do, you can still challenge your team to be at that mental level of competitive greatness. And that's what we've been able to do here.
In talking about the physicality, I was asking about Faustina Phillips, and she has developed and become one of the most dominant posts in the SEC. So what can we look forward to seeing from her this season?
Well, Faustine obviously came back and did a great job of completing her education here and getting her degree. So we're thrilled that she's returning back to play with us. And as Carolyn, you mentioned, she is going to be one of those players that can dominate the league. I like the fact that she's one of our best post players in the country, not only in our league, but in the country. She's one of the best rebounding shot blockers, has a nice touch around the basket. She's one of the things that we're doing with her, she's shooting threes. We got to get her ready for the next level. And the more that we add, the more layers that we've added to Faustine's game, the more versatile she's become and the more of a defensive nightmare she's become because she's playing at an elite level. The one thing I will say, and again, we follow and we log and we track our student athletes and what they're doing in the game, but last season, Faustine was running about 4 miles a game. And so that's a 6'5" post player that's in great shape, that's running more than any other post player on my team and some guards. And she's able to maintain that level of competitive greatness. She had a great junior year last year, and I expect her to have an exceptional senior year. But Faustine has been working. She's done a great job of not only transforming her body, but also transforming how she attacks practices and how she attacks the games.
Nikki, kind of piggybacking the earlier question from Christy, when do you think you have a schedule ready? There's been talk of, I think on the men's side of maybe doing some bubble type situations for non-conference games. What are you hearing, and when do you hope to have everything ironed out?
Well, we're in 2 bubble type tournaments this year, and we're wanting to make sure that the COVID protocol set forth by the NCAA and the SEC is being met. So we are moving forward in creating, like you said, those tournaments where you're getting a couple of games in and you're only in one destination, creating that quasi bubble. But everybody's got to make sure that they're testing and tracing. I think that's going to be key for all schools that are participating and playing this year. And we're trying to do our best in making sure that our student athletes are doing what they need to do here before we even go into competition. So I think that's equally important as well.
Nikki, as kind of a follow-up, has there been a protocol developed that you can talk about in terms of a threshold in, okay, if we have 1 or 2 illnesses, we can play, or is there an outline that you know where you are and where you aren't at a certain point in that week before a game?
Yes, I mean, we're obviously leaving that up to the experts in deciding what that looks like. And, you know, there's been a lot of conversations on making sure that we keep the student athletes free and clear as best as we can. And so, again, the honesty of your symptoms, what are you feeling, all of those come into play. Making sure, again, I can't stress it enough, the testing and making sure we're reaching the protocol that's set forth in regards to what type of testing that you should be doing and how often. And we're obviously going to follow those guidelines and follow the lead of our medical team here. And so far, I will tell you for women's basketball, we've been very diligent on making sure that we're practicing those as best as we can, practicing those COVID protocols, and making sure too that our student athletes continue to do that outside of being in the arena, being here at practice, but they also are having to do that on their own personal time as well, and being smart about what that looks like. So even when you have, excuse me, even when you have all these protocols listed and here are the necessary steps before you compete, I think we also got to address what are you doing before you compete. And that's going to be just as important as any test that we put our kids through.
Hey, Coach, this is Jared Broughton with the Reveille. How formative has the social justice activism going on around the country been for you and your players throughout this offseason?
Well, I think the one thing that I will say when you're dealing with two pandemics, if you will, that education is going to be key through all of this. I think we've got to come together and realize that there is a community of the Black community that is being affected by social injustice, social, racial, and economic injustices. And we've got to be aware of that, and we've got to face it head on. It's like anything that you do in competition, you got to know your scouting report. So we got to know what that looks like, and then in scouting, what's our defense and what's our offense against this? What are we doing offensively to promote a place of equity? What are we doing offensively to promote a place of being inclusive? What are we doing offensively to promote a place of justice? And I think you look at sports, and one of the things that's great about sports is I can take kids from all over the world, all over the country, and they can come here and they can play, and they can be of different cultures, they can be of different colors, they can be of different races, but they believe in each other, and they have an understanding of each other, and there's an empathy there that they feel for each other's. And I think if we can take a step back and utilize some of the things that we're taught in athletics, taught at a very young age, and apply them now, we can make this a better place for all people of all races and all colors.
Okay, I think we'll have time for one more before we get Will in here.
Nikki, would you talk about Kayla Poynter and what you're expecting out of her? This is her big year, I guess.
Well, Kayla has been just unbelievable for our team, you know, leading us in scoring last year, our assist leader, our playmaker, our go-to, you know, Faustina Phillips, Ayana Mitchell, not putting up the numbers without Kayla Poynter. She's one of the best point guards in the country. She's somebody that has shown over and over in big games how she can take over a game. So I'm excited about her senior year. I'm excited about the fact that she's coming into this leadership role for us where she's finding her own voice, but she's also somebody that's a great team player. And she's really been a major factor in how our perimeter play has defensively just turned the complexion of a game around. She's not only this really good offensive player, but this kid has come up with a lot of major steals. When you're looking at some of the games that we won last year against some of those top-ranked teams, Kayla Poynter had a big hand in that. So I'm excited about this senior year for her and all of our seniors, and I think she's going to be somebody that at that next level, you're going to love to have her on your team.
Thank you, Nikki. Appreciate the time.
Thank you.